Hi, I'm Axel. I'm back here today with Noel and Liam to continue ranking the top 100 best songs of 2023 because this is my hyperfixation now. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of club music, a lot of dancing music, right? Now, you'll notice that I'm not actually grouping these lists by genre, but style of music. So it's not like this video is like 10 songs from this one genre, this one kind of broad, electronic music, for example. But there's always a little bit of a mix, and that might make these videos thematically less cohesive. But I don't think about this, and I think it makes more sense this way, because imagine I did like now from like 70 to 61 only, club music, but then from position, 20 to 11 only hip hop. I wouldn't want to imply that, even the best dance cut of 2023 is not as good as the 10th best hip hop song of the same year. Does that make sense? With that said, as I was making this list, I did strike on some kind of like continuity, some pretty vague, thematic overlaps between the individual 10 picks in any given video. So today, a lot of these songs are going to be related to the club. And I'll start off at number 70 here with Sofia, Kourtesis and Madres. So this Berlin-based Peruvian DJ really has a fantastic knack for translating into music, really powerful, emotive potential that's just waiting to be grasped by the listener. I don't love the whole album of the same name that this is taken from to quite the same extent. I think at times traffics a little bit too much in that sort of wellness culture style with song titles like How Music Makes You Feel Better and, chill, happy house music that just sounds a little bit too gentrified for me. Kind of like what you'd expect to hear at a, Berlin rooftop party for your new alternative green energy startup firm. But on the title track, on Madres, she fully earns the hype. This is the kind of song that really exists to accompany personal awakenings achieved on a shrooms high. It's a really, really beautiful piece of electronic music. Now, staying in the Latin electronic scene with my pick number 69, because this is where a lot of the best club music is been coming out of in the last couple of years. But if you find yourself like me, often, desiring the sound of the club more than the actual club itself with all its inconveniences and costs, or if you're just living in like a place or even a town or city that just doesn't have a very thriving club culture, then Gangsta Groove by Regal 86 or Regal 86 from Mexico is the sound of the club you need to hear in 2023. It's ghetto tech, that's the sort of kind of genre umbrella term that we're looking at here, and it goes incredibly hard.
Right, fit change here, just because I had to refilm those last bits because I actually got too much sunshine from that window there, which, I live in Glasgow, so I wasn't exactly counting on that, but I don't have curtains for that. And anyway, it's better now. So we can continue at number 68 just there, with maybe just about like the furthest reaches of where club music can go. Model Actriz, Amaranth. So this Boston, Massachusetts noise rock band really broke out big in 2023 with their album Dog's Body, and this was my personal highlight of that record. It sounds a bit like what you might hear in a kinky Berlin S&N club at 11 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Or you could also say it sounds like having your head drilled into. But in either case, I'm really jealous of anyone who's got to see it live. Now, with this next book, we are no longer in the club. We are in Spain, which is not to imply that they don't have clubs in Spain, just that this song probably wouldn't be playing there. This is Marcelo Criminal featuring Nacho Vegas and El Día que Murió Pedro Sanchez. So this, that 2-minute long bedroom pop ditty can't be described just through musical and non-lyrical elements alone. I think we have to enter at least a little bit into the realm of Spanish politics with this one. So that's what this video is about now. So this song, El Día que Murió Pedro Sanchez, literally means the day that Pedro Sanchez died, which becomes interesting once you find out that Pedro Sanchez is very much not dead, but indeed still the Prime Minister of Spain. So what Marcelo Criminal, who is this kind of young DIY singer from Murcia in southeastern Spain, is doing with this song is he is delivering a dry newsreader-esque account of this entirely fictional event, but at the same time painting a picture of a possible future, kind of showing where the current situation in Spain could lead to, the current situation being sort of the consistent hate mongering by right-wing political parties, by the right-wing media against Sanchez and his Social Democratic Party, and that could lead one day to something like the politician's assassination by a random fanatic. Now, you might say, write such a song about just about any kind of political figure of some importance in just about any country in the world. But this is, I believe, where the idiosyncrasies and the distinct character of Spain's political culture and political history come in. And in Spain, where fascism held on for longer than anywhere else in Europe, and where this heritage, this legacy has not been dealt with to anywhere near the extent that it has been in countries like Germany and Austria, the current unlikely moment of a socialist politician enjoying enough support among his base and the public at large to have been in office without interruption since 2018, so a good 8 years now, to be re-elected on several occasions because the party is actually conducting itself reasonably well in power, introducing some level of kind of centre-left reforms and in general kind of remaining a thorn in the side of conservatives all over Spain who have pursued an unrelenting attack on Sanchez as a person and everything around him, and thereby have manipulated a considerable section of the public into believing that he is the devil incarnate and that he will be the ruin of Spain. And I think it's been scary to observe from the outside, in my position, of course, how the conservative establishment has again and again gone for Sanchez, but how Sanchez has again and again stood his ground. But even while he has fairly bravely kind of battled on in what can't really be a very enviable position to be in, the noise level of this consistent muckraking campaign has grown so deafening as to shut out really any sensible discussion of politics, policy, and make the government's work as difficult as possible. Because when they'll eventually be successful in ousting Sanchez, which really merely seems a matter of time by now, they will have created a precedent to follow in the kind of radical approach to politics, the same way that their own approach was modeled, I would say, on the Republicans' attacks against Joe Biden while he was in office. Beyond deliberately making any kind of meaningful, democratic, reformist change impossible for a actual leftist party in power in Europe, which is increasingly a rarity, this tactic has the even more troubling effect of radicalizing ordinary folk in the right-wing spectrum to developing an inordinary hatred for figures like Pedro Sanchez, who is, again, far from perfect. But if you're unfamiliar with Spanish politics, I think it's entirely fair to say that he's probably the most fundamentally decent leader of a country in Europe right now. I really don't love the man's politics. He's a centrist leftist after all. But compared to the neoliberal warmongers that call themselves leftists here in the UK, in Germany, in most of the rest of Europe and North America and other parts of the world as well, he is a shining beacon of hope, in particular with how he's spoken out against the genocide happening in Gaza and Palestine, against Donald Trump's Iran war, etc. And so, to get back to the song, what Marcelo Criminal is evoking with this fictional story that he's telling about Sanchez's death is that, the way things are going, this isn't an entirely unlikely vision of the future, as dark as it is. And so what Marcelo has done by this is to write one of the most trenchant political songs of the year without preaching and without deviating from his slacker rock persona. Okay, right, I'm going to try and get the pronunciation right on this. This is MC1 DJ GD Beaches and MC Doiszin with Sete da GM. Right, so Brazil is just years ahead of us musically. I mean, this posse cut, which has less than 500,000 streams on Spotify and doesn't even show up on its participants' main pages, and as part of their 10 most streamed songs, it's one that I've discovered just through Rate Your Music. And while I understand that if any Brazilian ends up watching this, you might be perplexed at my inclusion of what I think is the only Brazilian song on this list. But yeah, let me try to explain. If you really sit down and listen to this, you can't deny how profoundly strange this actually is. It's like a jubilant braggadocio posse cut, kind of like, Bande Organisée, which was big in France a couple of years ago. If it was being deconstructed by someone like Arca or some other radical Latin American DJ in a warehouse rave in a favela at 6 in the morning, where you're tweaking so hard that you can't actually decide whether the sirens are part of the beat or whether the police is about to raid the place. And my gringo opinion, I would, characterize this as something reminiscent of industrial hip hop. I understand that it is part of a large Brazilian tradition of funk or funky carioca being like the sort of umbrella term for these really fantastic developments in Brazilian music over the last couple of decades. But it's such a vibrant urban music scene that really defies easy categorization for these kind of like Western European genres. It's rap, but it's chiseled down to mere rhythmical industrial vulgarity. It's an oral pummeling in the way that you might expect from like an underground hardcore Chicago footwork set. And I just think it's really wonderful that, music like this, as out there and as challenging as this, enjoys the kind of popularity that it seems to enjoy in Brazil with young people. That's a really, really great sign of a vibrant musical culture in place there. Now, the lyrics and the video of this are obviously quite misogynistic, but it's obviously all posturing, right? I mean, like, take this with a grain of salt. I'm just some, again, white guy commenting on this from all the way here in Europe. But like, these guys are just your slightly goofy, Latin pop, reggaeton type singers with colorful haircuts. And then there's like even one guy who just kind of looks like someone's nerdy younger brother. And their mum was like, whatever you're doing, you just got to take him along with you. And now he's there spitting bars about pussy next to like half naked women twerking all around him. And like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to be dismissive about like the real dangerous pitfalls of misogyny in mainstream hip hop and mainstream Latin American music culture, what that can entail. But for the duration of the 2 minutes of this song, which I would strongly recommend you check out, I just feel a really hopeful feeling of the inclusive and integrating potential of music, that so many different people can come together and cook up something as utterly balmy as this. Right, I'll be brief with this next one here. The one and only Michael Jordan Lenderman Knockin. All I need to say about this is that it honors the Bob Dylan original by not covering it. Okay, I think this next one might need a little bit of context. This is babyMINT from Taiwan with Hellokittybalahcurrihellokitty美味しい, which I believe just means Hello Kitty guava curry Hello Kitty delicious, or like yummy. Which is obviously nonsense. I mean, this is way weirder than any other kind of mainstream K-pop or J-pop coming out of South Korea or Japan right now. This Taiwanese girl group who are kind of made this hyperpop influenced nerdcore beast of a song, which at the beginning sounds like the sing-along to some kids' TV show targeted at infants, like maybe learning their foods or something. But then the band takes this concept to so many weird and unexpected places that it's just wildly entertaining throughout. Like, it's got more sections than a King Crimson song. To ask yourself, if you heard this performed not by a couple of young Taiwanese girls, but by some Finnish lads with silly haircuts competing at Eurovision, then ask yourself, would you still hate it in that context, or would you be like, oh, that's actually kind of creative, that's actually kind of funny? And if the answer is no, yeah, you're just being bigoted because it's a chorus of young Taiwanese girls singing the song. Lost our friend Noel Gallagher there for a bit, but he's back now. And this is 63 Aesop Rock Vititus, which I believe is a Lithuanian honey liqueur. And don't go, stay here with us. Vititus of the legendary New York City rappers 2023 album Unlimited Tech Solutions, or what was it, Integrated Tech Solutions. This is simultaneously one of the most personal and one of the most cogent songs that the rapper has ever put out, in my opinion, delving deep into his family history, into his Catholic Lithuanian ancestors and grandmother, and over the course of just 4 minutes, evoking a fuller picture than most novelists do within an entire book. Now, I've obviously drifted heavily from this batch's purported theme of dance music over the last couple of songs, but we'll make something of a return to it with my pick number 62, Witch with Waile, which is a very danceable cut from this Zamrock band, so rock from Zambia, who have been making music since the 1970s, which is an incredibly long amount of time. I mean, this is the kind of new iteration of the band with some young blood as reformed in the 2010s. But this whole record is some of the smoothest jamming you'll hear in the whole year. And all I can tell you is that as someone who eats jam on toast for breakfast every morning, I am somewhat of an authority on jamming. And for the finale here at number 61, I've got my finest calligraphy for this. This is the Lemon Twigs with Any Time of Day. I mean, I think it's fair to say in some respect that the Lemon Twigs are kind of like the Greta Van Fleet of 70s style folk rock in the way that their music is heavily built on kind of imitating a distinct era, distinct sound, distinct bands within a certain movement. But it's in moments of compositional strength, like this song, featuring one of the most impressively hit high notes of the whole year 2023, that this band proves that they are so much more than mere imitation. And that finishes up this batch of 10 tracks for this week. The links to all of the songs are in the description below, as always. Thanks very much for watching, if that's what you've been doing, and if you've not just accidentally found yourself waking up to this in the middle of the night on YouTube autoplay. I, for my part, will continue listing these songs all the way until I get to number one. And if you keep tuning in, if you want to hear my thoughts on Ice Spice, the rapper, which will be featuring in the next video. Not personally, but like me talking about her will feature heavily. Yeah, cool. That's me. Cool.